What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of For the Girls, brought to you by Relationship Restored. Today, before we even get into the topic, we have a very special guest. You might know her by the name J-Lo.
She was serious. Who is this that's coming up?
Cece is giving J-Lo
by the rocks that I got.
Over your head.
Yeah.
You gotta go.
I'm still Jenny from the block. I used to have a little, now I have a lot.
It's the hoops too. I think that's what's
Right?
the hoops and the bun
And the fur.
and the fur with the hood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally not planned, by the way.
At all.
We are talking about unrealistic standards in dating. Something we all know a lot about.
I had a lot of them.
Oh, I think we all
I think we all did. I think a lot of people still do.
Even though, this is what's funny, I had a really unrealistic standard in, I think, or expectation in dating, but always ended up dating guys that didn't meet it at all.
What was it?
I dated like the opposite. Like, I was like, oh, I know he has kids. Oh, I know he was married. Oh, I know he doesn't really have a job. Oh, I know
He doesn't
the
really
contracting thing might be code for drugs. Like, what else can I get into here? Yeah, bad credit, all the things.
Bad credit. Dang.
Oh Lord. I think
I know I have standards, but like fuck them.
I'm like,
Okay.
the chemistry's good.
But okay, so the fine line between standards and unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, woo, that one's difficult because there are women out there, you'll tell them, you know, your dating expectations are really high. And they're just like, well, I'm just not going to settle. Yeah, you shouldn't settle, but this, you know.
I think it's a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
Like, so there's so many men and women. So like for like men.
Women too. I mean, men too.
Listen.
She got big
let me
booty,
get
small
into it.
waist.
Oh yeah,
gotta cook, gotta clean.
She has to be a baddie. If she's like a 10 out of 10, they want an 11. But it's like my guy. If you want a shorty that's an 11, you have to have baddie 11 money. You have to have baddie 11 dick. You have to have baddie 11. You know, like experiences and opportunities. Like there's so many of my husband's friends or acquaintances that I mean want like J-Lo level women who, I mean, this is no shade, so just I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Who like work like a normal government job, like maybe might be making like low six figures, and you know it's like my guy, and, they don't work like they got like a little gut, like they're balding, and it's like nigga,
Not a gut and balding.
I mean like you're not gonna get that caliber of woman if you're not bringing that caliber of dude to the table. Like let's just, I mean it is what it is. Like I'm sorry, but it's just the reality. Like. It's true.
Well, okay, so if there's a guy who has the government job and he has the gut, you know, if he feels like he...
The way that Angela sets it up, like the voice.
The government job.
The government job.
The gut.
He has the balding.
Which is all...
It's bulging.
Which is all great, you know. Sorry.
No,
You know, okay, y'all.
No. Let me take a step back.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with
Exactly.
having a good government job. There's nothing wrong with a normal guy. Actually, I think most women are missing out on their blessings by
That's what I
thinking
was about to get
that there is
Right.
something wrong with the normal dude.
Or like that guy is missing out on his blessing because he wants a girl who, you know...
Who don't want him?
That, or he wants a girl that looks a certain way but is after certain things.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
he could get a beautiful woman who has a nice
has all
body,
that,
you know,
what I'm
but
saying?
it's just, I think the expectation is they're correlating a certain body, a certain woman to having money, to producing this amount of money. You should, instead of like asking for a woman who, you know, looks like an Instagram model, ask for a beautiful woman and maybe she will come, and if you're giving off that same radiance.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, sometimes, a lot of the women who are Instagram models or look a certain way, they're expecting a certain type of payout.
Most times. Like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 times.
Right.
The like certain type of women are looking for certain types of things. And vice versa. Certain type of men are looking for certain type of things out of women. Like, you know, I know quite a few women who only want to date men who are, who bring in 7 figures annually, who have a net worth of 8 figures, who drive, the latest G-Wagon or the Taycan or whatever.
I'm not saying those guys aren't out there.
They're not. It's not that they're not.
Yeah.
They are very much so out there. However, most times a certain caliber of man, if he does have a high net worth, if he is good looking, fine as hell, he has a lot of different options. And most times, not saying all, but a lot of times those types of men aren't looking to settle down with just one chick. And they're not going to be like, oh, she's absolutely stunning, like I'm gonna give her everything, because there's a lot of stunners out here now. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of beautiful women.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah.
So like those types of men, even if you do catch them, doesn't mean that they're gonna stick around.
I think the problem is the expectation is like, if you're expecting a man with money, he's gonna treat you like you're expecting a man with money.
Exactly, because
if you're expecting a good man, and he may have money, but if you're expecting a good man who's gonna treat you right, you're gonna get treated right. I think just it's the level of the expectation. It's the kind of expectation.
It's the issue when these are the things that you're looking for. None of those things have anything to do with you having a good relationship.
Exactly.
That's what I was trying to get at.
And when someone lives a certain lifestyle, all it means for you is that you're going to reap the cons of that. If the man has all the money and all the opportunities, he's most likely going to be traveling a lot. He most likely is going to have tons of beautiful women who are after all of his things
too,
around him, willing to do things for his
things.
And then at the end of the day, again, the car, the house, none of that stuff is going to make you have a good relationship. You might appear to be living a certain lifestyle. Are you happy? That's the thing, is
That's
like none of that
thing.
equals happiness. And I think the sadness of the situation and the reality of the situation is that when men are looking for women, right, they specifically usually go for what they're physically attracted to, but they don't have the high expectations of the woman having to make X amount of dollars or having to do this or having to do that, because they're the man, they're the provider. They just want people or someone to look good on their arm and make life a little bit more enjoyable. Hopefully. As a woman, you have to look at things like income and stability, because no woman wants to be with a scrub at the end of the day.
Absolutely not.
But the issue is there's average, regular Joe guys that do the typical day-to-day things. They have, a secure job where they are at least on salary. They, might or might not have children. That doesn't affect their ability to be a good human or to treat you well. They might have a past of dating and doing whatever, and maybe they're a little older because now they're ready to settle down. And someone like that, I would look at as a good potential for a husband. But a girl that is out here dating now will look at that and be like, that's not enough. And I think that's terrible.
I mean, I certainly was like that, right? So like my dating history, I dated a lot of people in the like nightlife industry. Yeah. So these dudes had a lot of access, they had money, all that. But when I met my husband, like my husband is an average guy. He gets up every single morning. He and then he drives to work and he drills on funky ass teeth, and then he comes home and like that's it. Like he's not like, it's not like we do travel, but it's not like he's traveling here and there for business and like doing this and like if you look day to day, like we live a very normal average life. He goes to work, he has a 9 to 5. Now granted, yes, he is a doctor, so it's a little bit like different. It's not like he's whatever. So I
get where you're going.
He's like average guy. Like he's
somebody that you still have to be a partner to. You contribute financially. You have a job.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's like if you're just looking to be taken care of, like baby
just
girl.
The expectation is unrealistic, because if you're looking at a man as someone who's going to take care of you, you're not going to get from him the fairy tale you're hoping for.
Yes.
Like that's just unrealistic. Yeah. And like to your point where you said a lot of men sometimes are just looking physical attraction. Sometimes I think there is a shift now. Men want to partner with someone that they can partner with. Yes, they're initially attracted by looks and beauty, but like Cece said, there's lots of beautiful women out here. What's going to make you stand out?
Exactly.
Now,
It's
are you
about
having
the full package.
are you having unrealistic expectations, but you don't expect that of yourself?
Now that's another thing is that I hear a lot of women and men, like it's not just about women, men and women who have these lists of like, I want this and this and this. And to Bree's point, most things that are on that list
Are good for a relationship.
are not
or
going
will
to bring you true
sustain a
happiness.
relationship. Yeah.
Like, but they have like, I want this, this, and this. And then when you look at them, it's like, okay, but what are you bringing?
Yeah.
Do you have your own business that brings in 7 figures? Do you possess like this like magical skill or vagina or dick that's going to like be like, oh my God, I just can't live without this. You know what I'm saying? Like most times, I don't think that a lot of people are actually bringing to the table the things that they expect from whoever they're trying to attract or lure in, or it's just, I don't know. It's the math ain't mathin' a lot of times.
Did you guys have unrealistic dating expectations? Yes. And I was just going to kind of like get to that. Even my husband had unrealistic dating expectations.
My husband too.
Going into the relationship, like,
not going into our relationship, but he told me about his.
Yeah. Like, and I mean, he had to tone it down and I had to tone it down. Like, we're human beings.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. Like, no, I'm not going to have a 4-course meal for you every single night.
Yeah.
But, I would love to do that for you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have a 4-course meal for you and be a full-time working person, because I wasn't a mom then. He toned that down.
Yeah.
So, now, I will say, like, this is probably a different facet of the topic of unrealistic dating expectations. A lot of times when we meet someone, we are throwing it out there. Like, I'm cooking for him. I'm giving 100%. That good.
Listen,
I'm giving that good vag. I'm
Shane was getting this thing like every single night, and that's just not.
I'm up. I'm doing. I'm doing this. We're going out. We're drinking. I'm getting lit. I'm doing this.
A representative
and,
for show.
Yeah, and then like it came down after a few months, and he's just like,
what is
okay?
Where so again, I don't know if that's my fault or I was just initially in love or what, and I just wanted to impress him.
Yeah.
So maybe I did give him some false hope, but because my husband's a decent man, he's understanding. He understood that. No, I'm not cooking you these beautiful, lavish meals I was cooking you at the beginning. I mean, I can cook now, but it's not happening all the time. We are partners. We're both full time. I'm both working. We're both commuting. We're both doing this. We're both doing that. And I think he understood that. And I think it also creates a power imbalance when someone's at home doing all the chores and this, that, and the third, and you're making the money too.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we didn't want in our relationship, but some people expect that in others. So again, I think to scale it back, I was just kind of giving a personal view. Unrealistic dating expectations, you have to understand people are humans and that you're not going to be able to fulfill financial wants and what's the word I'm looking for when you're trying to take care of somebody. You're not going to be able to fulfill that for someone all the time.
Yeah,
and get the same thing you want out the relationship. It's just not going to be a fairy tale.
Like I had a girlfriend who her dude at the time that she was dating expected her to like just like walk around the house wearing matching lingerie sets and like wanted
heels
like
while cooking
like it was so unrealistic, and like that wasn't like even who she was. Like she wanted to wear like t-shirts and sweatpants and just kind of like chill and be her natural self. So I think also if you are in a relationship and your partner has unrealistic expectations that they're not, and you've communicated like, I don't want to do this all the time, like this is not sustainable, and they're not budging, that might be also like,
where's the red flags?
like this may not be it for me. Because at the end of the day, unmet expectations results to resentment and
disappointment,
a whole host of different
I just
things.
really think there shouldn't be expectations. I think there should just be.
I don't know, but there shouldn't be
I
expectations.
mean, I just think there should be some standards.
Okay.
Standards, like, you know, I we've talked about this before. Our list, like, at one point, I wanted a man who made a certain amount of money, who had a certain kind of job, and when I took that away and just said, okay, he has to be ambitious, like,
Yes.
maybe not a standard, more of like a core value.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
Certain
Core
values,
value.
like, I think expectations, in the sense of like a list of things that he should check off, I think that should be taken away and just like gone into like values, like some.
So what I think of when I think of like expectations, even like in dating, right? I think that expectations are healthy once you're dating someone. Like, but in dating in general, like if a random guy is sitting at the table and this is your first date, to have expectations is silly because you know nothing about this person. Once you know a person and you guys are like committed to the dating phase, going to boyfriend, girlfriend, engagement, marriage, I think expectations are very important because expectations are what make us as humans thrive on good feeling endorphins.
Yeah.
If we don't feel loved, if we don't feel desired, if we don't feel that we're enjoying our life, if we don't feel we have a partner, then we're left feeling empty.
Yeah.
And so I think that the expectation thing should be like how you just said, you know, like core values and standards is what are you looking for?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. What
when
are we talking
dating?
about? Are we talking
Yeah.
about what we're looking for in
But-
dating or when we are dating? Because I think they're two different
Well,
topics.
I think it's the same because
think,
at the
yeah,
end
they
of the
go hand in
day,
hand.
most people are going on that first date with expectations. And what I'm saying is I think that is silly. I think that once you know somebody, like once you have that first sit down and you're talking about what your goals are or what you're looking for or what your life looks like, then you can go into the relationship with
like,
some
more
sort of
tangible
expectations that
expectations,
you're
yeah.
communicating. And you would be able to know that without saying, hey, just so you know, these are my expectations, by the person being like, so what do you look for in a relationship or in a partner? You're literally communicating with them your expectations. Now, it's not saying, well, I'm looking for someone who makes, you know, 7 figures. You wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say that. That's silly. You wouldn't say, you know, I'm looking for a guy who drives a nice car. You wouldn't
people
say
do.
that.
I'm saying, are the girls saying that? Is that what's going on?
I don't think so. I think that if you are, there's probably not going to be a second date because that's weird.
Absolutely, I agree with
that's
that.
weird.
I agree with
think
that. It is very
at the end of the
weird.
day, people say like, you know, I really want someone who is ambitious and who like is goal driven or likes to travel. Or now you're expressing the expectations that you have in someone that you're not on a first date with, but that you're in a relationship with.
Yeah.
And that's how you decide if moving forward, there's going to be a second or third or
Yeah,
fourth
yeah.
date.
Yeah.
I actually like having expectations in a relationship.
Yeah, it's
Not
good.
unrealistic ones, but healthy ones,
Yeah.
right? So because I think that because we are all human, we all naturally have expectations of people. I have expectations of my friends.
Yeah.
I have expectations of my man. I have expectations of my daughter. Like, so, but they have to be healthy. So I'll give you an example of some of me and my husband's healthy expectations. One, I expect him to follow our routine when it comes to our daughter that we set for each other. My daughter's with me basically 24/7, right? Because I work from home. She's with me. She does not go to daycare. So when Shane comes home, he knows that he has to be on duty. Even though he just finished his day of work, which is fucking exhausting. You know, we made this baby together. You have to step up, right? So I have expectations that he's going to do bath time, whatever. Another expectation is that for us, I've talked about this before. In the beginning of a relationship, we had sex a lot. Towards like the middle of a relationship, and especially when I got pregnant, and after I had my baby postpartum, we did not have sex a lot. So a healthy sex life in our house is an expectation, and my
And the
husband
expectation can change.
absolutely.
That's what I was just about to get
and
at.
my
It can
husband
change.
communicates that to me all the time. Like, hey, I want to let you know I need this. I need physical touch. I need that physical intimacy from you, from my wife. I only want it from you, from my wife, but I need it. And I need it more, like when we weren't doing it enough, I need it more frequently than we're doing it now. And now that we are back in a space where we are having sex on a regular basis, he communicates to me. He literally says, thank you. Thank you for having sex with me. I know that like sometimes you don't always feel like it because you had a long day with Capri and whatever, but he makes it known that I'm meeting his expectations and that also he's appreciative of it.
That.
You know, so though I think, you know, expectations are necessary but they need to be healthy and not unrealistic, right? Like I can't have an expectation that like, okay, Shane, I need you to step it up a little bit. Like last year we had a good year financially, but this year I want to buy a new Benz because this one is old. I want a new one this year. I need a bigger one. Like that's unrealistic. I mean, in me and my household, everyone's relationship is different, right? Like some people come from money and that ain't no thing, right? But like, so I think that, you know, coming into your relationship, one, you have to know what you want and make it like totally like you can't expect if you come from humble means that you're just like all of a sudden, you know what? I deserve a billionaire. I'm only going after billionaires. It's like
that's gonna leave you single and heartbroken.
Yeah.
Probably with a kid.
You know, like so I just like really like check in with yourself and be like, okay, this is what I want. Why do I want it? For one. And am I the type of person that is bringing something to the table that deserves to have someone like this?
Or even when I think of like the whole financial stuff, because again, I think it's silly that people are expecting someone to come along that's going to treat them right and give them that lifestyle.
It's like a fairy tale.
It's very like
it's
an
selfish. Instagram thing.
It's selfish and it's lazy.
It
is selfish and it's lazy because what it says to me is that you don't find value in yourself enough to be someone's partner. You just want to be taken care of, or you think you look good enough to deserve that type of treatment. It's weird. It's silly to me. But what it does make me like think of, like when Cece was saying the whole money situation, is instead of having expectations for how much somebody makes, why not take the time to actually get to know people and to decide what you want in a partnership? And if that means that you would like to have expensive cars, if you would like to take expensive trips, if you would like to live in a big fancy house, communicate that with the men who you're dating and see who wants the same things that you want, because it's only going to make sense if that person wants it too. Because if they don't want it, even if the person has a crap ton of money, a man's not going to do what doesn't make sense for him. So you might be sitting there, and what's so funny is some of the richest people are the most cheapest, the most frugalest people that you will ever meet. And so even though the man has $1 million in his bank account, it doesn't mean he's buying you jack squat.
Right.
And at the end of the day, if you're
and the ones who are tricking aren't just tricking on you. They probably got a few others.
It's going around, baby.
Oh yes.
So it's like, I think when it comes to the expectations thing and, you know, like having standards, I think it's important to have standards of who you give your time to. And I think it's important that once your time is given, that you make a decision of if this is someone that you can see yourself with. And if so, having healthy means to communicate what your expectations is in general, in life and in a relationship, to know if you need to put that person over in this pile of potentials, or if you're like, that was our last date. And the expectation being realistic or not realistic, I think there's two things you have to ask yourself. Is realistic means there's not many men out there or women out there who offer or provide this, so you might end up alone for a long time because what you're looking for just isn't very realistic. It's not to say that it's impossible. It just means that your chance, your window of opportunity to meet somebody that will allow you to have the things that really matter, which is love and a family and a future, it starts to do this. And so when girlfriends are like, girl, you need to be more realistic, it's not saying give up your standards, baby. It's saying maybe you need to change your perspective on how you view dating and what you're looking for, so that you can have something that is long lasting and fruitful, and not something that is momentary and unhealthy. And I think the biggest issue for us as friends, for our girls who are single, we know how awesome they are and we know that they deserve the best. But if you put this label on people and make decisions about who people are and what they could provide you by what they're doing alone, that's silly. Because as a woman, when you come into that partnership, you should make that man better, and that man should be able to do more, have more, make more. But if you're coming to the table with the expectation of him already being who he should be with a woman by his side,
it's unrealistic.
It's silly.
It's silly.
Side note, y'all, because Lily and Sean just walked in. We got to get them on camera real quick. Bring her over here.
Can we see Lily?
Come here, girl. She's all being quiet.
She's got her hair looking crazy.
No, she's not. Come here.
Come here, girl. Come around here.
You want to say hi to the camera? Say hi.
Say hi.
Can you say hi, Dre's friends?
Say hi.
She's like, where? She's like, where? Where's Uncle Dre?
God.
She's like, he's over there.
I love you, Lily.
Oh my God, she's being so quiet right now. She's like, what are you guys doing to me? Sean, you don't want to make a cameo? Yeah.
Oh my God, now I forgot what we were talking about.
I know.
Well, I mean, we're talking about unrealistic expectations.
Okay,
Oh,
so
well, this is perfect because Sean just walked in. One of the things that we talked about on an episode, a while ago, it was one of our first episodes, was Angela having a expectation in dating that the person that she would be with wouldn't have a child. And it was
good one.
Like that was something that, again, it's and it's not that it's unrealistic.
Yeah,
because at your
because-
age, you could absolutely been with someone who didn't. But imagine if you would have judged him off
yeah,
of
that's
that
what I'm
and
saying.
never-
I took that off the table. Like when I took that off the table, I think I kind of dated a guy who had a kid right before Sean, and it just wasn't it. And then when I met Sean, it was like the guy with the kid. I was like, eh. And then it was another. I was like, okay, God is like sending me men with kids. But Sean had a kid, and he was very young. Mars was very young when me and Sean met. So, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it out. And like in my head, you know the reason why I took it away? Like my mom married a man with kids. What makes me different?
Right? Okay.
What makes me different?
Let's
I'm
talk
like,
about it.
it worked. And my dad, with all their issues, is still married to my mom,
Yeah.
a good husband.
Yeah.
She loves her
Yeah.
her stepchildren, my brother and my sisters. So I was just like, why was that such like? It was very much like I'm against it. I'm
Yeah.
against it.
I used to have unrealistic expectations as far as like material things and like
Right.
physical things. Like I can't date a
Okay,
man
so-
that's not at least 6 feet
I was about to say,
tall.
pause. I'm sorry, women, and I'm with you on this side. And Sean always kind of like makes comments about this, but height was a thing for me because I'm kind of tall. So
Yeah, you are.
it was difficult for me to be like, hi.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again,
I get that, but also like so for me like that was like a requirement when I was young, very early on though, like maybe that was like when I was 25. I was like, you know what? Forget that. I've dated men who are 5'7". I dated men who are 6'5". I found one in the middle at 5'10".
but he's taller than you.
He's taller
'cause
than
you're
me.
kind of
but you know what?
short.
I say that I realized that height don't have shit to do with it.
That's true.
Because men come there. I know some tall men who ain't packing, and I know some short men who are. You know what I'm saying? So like it's like but they all treated me. I don't care if they were tall or short. Some tall ones treat me good, some short ones treat me good, and then both of them treat me bad at times. You know what I'm saying? So for me, like the physical things started not to be as important. I used to only be like dudes with tattoos because I have a lot of tattoos.
Oh.
I love tattoos, and so I used to only date dudes who were like tatted, like neck tats, sleeves, everything, tall, like pretty boys. Loved a good pretty boy. You know what I'm saying? My husband now is fine as hell, but he's not a pretty boy. He's not 6'5". He has no tattoos. You know what I'm saying? Like he was not what I was used to. But if I had let my unrealistic expectations prevent me from actually seeing how this man loves me, how he cares for me. My husband, if I asked him to rub my feet, lick my toes every single night, he would do it. I swear to God, my man will do
Did you
anything.
say lick your toes? Rub
Lick
your
'em.
feet and lick
I'm not into that, but if you are, cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm just find you a man that would do that for you. You know what I'm
I was
saying?
gonna say some women have unrealistic sexual expectations.
Men too.
Right.
So this was actually a thing that Shane and I had to talk about. There was a moment in our relationship where I feel like Shane's sexual expert. I'm like a little conscious now because Lily's in the room. So I feel like Shane's sexual. I'm gonna be PG.
She's toning it down.
Shane's sexual expectations were not realistic for me, and how I and my sex drive, right? So I felt like a lot of things that maybe he would see online, he was trying to
emulate.
And I was like, nah, that ain't gonna work for me. You know what I'm saying? So but that
Some joints are unrealistic.
that took a conversation.
Yeah.
Because, you know what I'm saying, like, you have this expectation, but I can't meet that, so we have to meet somewhere in the middle. You know, and that's all about compromise.
Where do you think like a lot of your unrealistic expectations came from?
Social
I know
media.
for me, like
Social
growing
media.
up, it's like movies and
I was just gonna say, I gotta
Social
talk
media
about my unrealistic expectations
and experiences,
it has to do
because
with movies.
because when I was young, I grew up fast. So at 16, I was already like out in like the city. Like, I had a fake ID. Like, I was dating like grown men, doing things I should not have been doing at 16. Right. So I grew up really fast, and I got exposed to a different lifestyle early. So I think my experiences and like kind of like seeing different women and how they moved, and like different men and like the lifestyle that they could provide them, that's where a lot of my unrealistic expectations came from. I thought that, you know, as I think a lot of young women do, they just want to have a certain experience out of life.
but where did they get that from? You know?
I think movies.
That's where I'm getting at. Like,
Social
if you've
media.
been told that you have unrealistic expectations, if you've been told, like, maybe just pause and think about where it's coming from
why.
and why. Like, it might be rooted in something that goes a little deeper than just, you know, I want a man who can provide me a life that, you know, where I live in this beautiful house. But like, why?
Because also having unrealistic high standards is also just as bad as like not having any. And I think the way that, like, I went from having like no expectations and just dating like people who, when someone heard like, wait, you who? And I'm like, but he's a nice guy. He had nothing going on for himself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would date like people who just weren't on my level. But it made me feel even like more special in a sense. Made me feel like I'm the prize. And so I got rid of any expectations, and I would kind of date someone as long as they were nice to me. I didn't care what their goals were. I didn't care because I felt I had enough goals for the both of us, or like I felt like I would just be the shining star and you would just
good
be
perspective.
like,
but
the reason why, because how you mentioned like figure out where it comes from. I watched my mom date a lot of guys, a lot of different guys. And the thing that never was really different is she was never taken care of. She was the provider. She was the one who, like, they would come and live with us. And if something happened, she would help them, you know, with a bill or whatever. When we're out to dinner, she's paying for the check. Like, so it made me think that, one, this is normal. Like, I, as a woman, should be independent and like not need those things from somebody. But two, when you actually provide all these things and the other person isn't bringing much to the table, it makes you feel secure that they're not going to mess up, that they're not going to talk to someone else, that they're not going to, you know, disown you, or like they're not going anywhere. So it gave me security, because I was used to men constantly leaving, starting with my dad. And then constantly after that, any man that my mom did date that moved in or whatever, they were there for a few weeks, maybe a few months, and then they're gone. So for me, it felt good to know this guy wouldn't leave this place. Imagine if you walked into a 5-star hotel, you have all-inclusive food and drinks, and you gonna go down to the motel? No, you're not going to the motel.
Yeah.
So it made me feel secure in what I brought to the table. And what I realized is doing that was tragic, because then I was attracting people that, for me, thought I didn't have any expectations. And at the time when I was going through the relationships, when things would start to go bad, and when I would look at my like self-worth in a sense of how they react to me, I was like, wait, we are getting confused here. Why is my worth determined by how he reacts to if I'm not doing something that I shouldn't have been doing in the first place? I should have never been paying for his bills. I should have never been bathing his children and taking them to school. I should have never been doing X, Y, and Z.
clutch my pearls.
You know what I mean? Clutch my pearls. Like, none of that made any sense. And I would start to feel less than, and I was already doing so much and meeting these overly, you know, high expectations for them. But where was the expectations from them? Like, it didn't make any sense. So I think whether they're high or low, you got to figure out why.
like you said, expectations. Maybe I was lumping standards in with expectations. But yeah, now that you say that, like, it just definitely gives me that perspective. Okay, yeah, you should definitely have some standards, some expectations for yourself.
Yes.
But like, there you can teeter over onto unrealistic, and that could block tons of blessings.
Yeah.
You could be completely unhappy. You could be with someone, and it could cause
Or not be with someone.
Not be with someone. But if you do end up with somebody with these unrealistic expectations, it can cause resentment, criticism all the time because this person's not meeting your expectations. So, I think Brie gave really good advice for when you have unrealistic expectations. It's when there's not a lot of people who have what you're looking for. I mean, it's not that it's impossible, but what did you do? The whole was like,
Shush the window down.
if you're
And I like that Cece had mentioned social media. I would say, y'all, please stop looking at social media in these movies.
Listen.
And I say movies like that because even now in my marriage, I want to be kissed in the rain. I want to walk in.
You do like a fairy tale.
I love romance. Like,
I mean, I think something was all imprinted on us, like, in different ways. Like, obviously I was watching princess movies, so I thought I was gonna marry a prince.
And honestly, the only reason why, like, when Dre said the whole wait for marriage thing, to me, I was like, wait, is this my fairy tale? Is this going to be the thing that makes me feel, it to me it was special. And I was like, I've always wanted like a fairy tale story. I'm like, this is going to be beautiful to tell our children.
But
in the back of my mind, I was hoping that maybe it wouldn't happen regardless.
Like,
marriage, but it did.
Even with the way we all got into our marriages, every single one required work. Like, if you didn't have sex, if you did have sex, if you had the baby before,
relationships in general,
if there was a
work.
baby before, like, it's just their work. So I think putting unrealistic expectations on something that's already very difficult,
is
and I like
not a good formula.
I like that we touched on having too high and like not having any, because I think people watching this, you're in one of those categories. Like, it has to be either or. So I like that we touched on both. But so I mean, I think the main nugget here is I think what Angela said, standards versus expectation, is to have an understanding of the difference between the two. You should have a standard for choosing who you're going to give your time to, right? But once you're on that date, once you're in that situation, you can absolutely communicate expectations that you have for yourself, for your life, and your future, to make sure that that person is in alignment with you. And before communicating those things, run it by some folks, run it by your best friends, the people who know you best, your parents, and therapists. And the thing is if you've been single for a very long time and you're over it, check your expectations, check what you're looking for, and really get a third party unbiased opinion on your dating life, because sometimes
I will ask friends, like, what's your list looking like? And the items on that list, I'll be like, whoa,
you might want to revisit that.
Revise this.
Revise that.
Can I get a pen?
But I am not compromising what I want.
Let me help you, girl.
I'm not lowering my standards.
Yeah, but also, like, and you don't got to lower your standards. Sometimes, again, changing that standard will allow somebody to raise to a higher standard. But you got to give grace. You
should not have low standards.
That's called, bringing out the best in someone, versus batting them down because they can't make $1 million in 1 year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wild.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, cheers to another episode. We don't have the best things to cheers right now. Make sure you guys comment and let us know what topics you want us to talk about. Make sure on the podcast that you leave a review. We are going to start featuring reviews again, and any stories that you guys want to share. Like, if you have stories, we know we're not real love scenario, but we are adding some new things to the show to make it a little bit more engaging. So definitely let us know if you have stories that align with any of these topics or anything that we've talked about.
This is a space for the girls.
Yeah.
Come on now, for the girls.
Know.
Come with it.
And make sure to follow us at Relationship Restored, at Cece Costin, at Angela Hanna, at Brianna Aponte. And until next time.
See ya.